Welcome to the third dimension. Nearly a decade of conflict in Yemen has brought untold hardship and misery to the population and left complete devastation in its wake. An economic crisis, mass displacement, damaged infrastructure and underdevelopment. The consequences for women and girls in particular have been catastrophic. About 3/4 of 4 million displaced people are women. A significant proportion of 14 million Yemeni who lack adequate access to health care are either pregnant or lactating mothers. Also, discriminatory gender norms continue to hamper the ability of women to support themselves and their families. Women's rights have been an unseen casualty of the war, as the fabric of the country has disintegrated. Meanwhile, despite being underrepresented in peace talks, Yemen is still home to many strong activists for women's rights who are taking enormous risks not only in defending human rights but also in shaping a vision for peace in the country. To discuss the impact of war on Yemeni women, join me from Taiz Olla Alsakaf. Olla is a researcher and an activist focusing on women and youth. In 2021, she briefed the United Nations Security Council on Youth, Peace and Security Agenda. She has represented Yemeni women and youth in different regional and international events. She is the founder and the chairperson of Peace and Environment for Development organization. Olla, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Okay. If we could start straight away, Olla, by asking, okay, how has the 9-year conflict in Yemen impacted Yemeni women?
I have been living in Yemen since I was born. I also have been living all the years of the war here in Yemen, in Taiz, close to the front lines. My house is just about 3 kilometers away from the front lines. I'm a woman living in Yemen, and actually it has not been easy at all, and the impacts are still continuous. It has not been ended, unfortunately. Since the beginning of the war, women has faced a lot of difficulties and challenges. Let's just start first talking about security, for example. A lot of women had to leave their houses, flee to other cities, other governorates, living just in some shelters there, away from their houses with no services at all. The impact of war is not just impacting women, but they are the most affected. A lot of men have just joined the battles. Some of them just immigrate out of the country to work, and some of them have been injured or killed. Women took most of the responsibilities during the war. They had to take care of the family, their children, and try to bring the services that the government could not bring for those women. Besides that, the economic status right now, and as you know, the economy is collapsing in Yemen. It has been so hard for women because they are responsible, trying to provide their family and children with all these things just for living, the most essential things for living. It is not easy for them. It is so hard. And I cannot describe the life of these IDPs women, which women actually represent most of the percentage of the IDPs people in Yemen. So those women are living in camps, living in tents. These tents actually do not nothing. They do not protect these women. They are in danger. A lot of women have been raped. A lot of women have experienced a lot of challenges and difficulties. And besides that, women in Yemen have been facing a lot of issues, not just since the beginning of the war, but I mean many years before that. You know that in Yemen, a lot of women are facing gender-based violence, for example. A lot of them are forced marriage in an early age. Many of them are not able to go to school because their families do not even give them the opportunities to study. A lot of them are not able to access to many of their rights. And now, while the government is not there nowhere for these women to go to. They are there by themselves facing all these challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Now, reflecting on the war from a women point of view, Ola, okay, I understand you are the founder of Peace and Environment for Peace. Would you just give us a sense of what does this organization do in order to help what we call Yemeni women alleviate this suffering?
Actually, I have been working like in civil society since the beginning of the war. I have joined civil organizations, but I have just recently established peace environment just in like 2 years ago. We work on two main topics. The first one is peace building and the other one is climate change. We're focusing on women in all the projects that we are working on, as women consider the main elements in all of these projects. While we're working on peace building, for example, we're trying to build the capacities of these women to enable them to play significant roles in their societies. We're not working on one topic, we're actually working on many. Sometimes we're working also with the local authorities, trying to involve women in decision-making processes. We're also working on climate change, as women are really impacted by climate change in Yemen. As you know, about 2/3 of the society in Yemen living in rural areas, while women there took most of the responsibilities, especially on the land and agriculture, and they are badly affected recently by climate change.
Yeah. Also, I understand that you've been participating in COP28. Is that correct, Ola?
Yeah, I have participated in COP28.
How would you describe your experience there, and what lessons to be learned in terms of the risk of climate change on Yemeni women?
Actually, while we're talking about climate change in COP28, I want to talk about different things related first to women participation.
Yeah.
As you know, it is said that about 100,000 persons attended COP28 this year. And if you're going to look at the number of Yemeni women attending the conference, is going to be so low, like just tenths maybe, and less of that number, less than 100 women. Now, this is a big number, much less than that has attended. Let's first talk about the travel difficulties for Yemeni women. As you know, in many areas, Yemeni women are not allowed to travel by themselves. Beside the expenses of traveling, usually you cannot find direct flights to your destination, and you have to pay more than one ticket to travel to one country, then the another. Beside all the difficulties of getting the visa, and while we don't have any embassies here in Yemen. But the participation was great in COP28. I actually didn't participate as one of the Yemeni delegation. I participated as a member of delegation of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. It is international network working on pushing and furthering the agenda of women, peace and security in the global level. It was so important because being in such international event is giving you a lot of, widening your understanding of many things that working on the ground is not providing us with such information. When you are working on international issues such as climate change, you have also to understand the international processes working on this issue and how the international actors are dealing with it. So I have been working on climate change for more than 2 years, but I have been so far away from the international and UN perspectives working on climate change. It is also a great space for networking. It is a great space for our voices to be heard as civil society and women. Climate change is affecting Yemeni women badly. Yemeni women are working in agriculture in many parts of Yemen. Their lands now are in danger. A lot of Yemeni women are also depending on fishing in many of the coastal areas as their main resource of income. And this also threatening right now by climate change. And I'm going also to add the roads that are used right now during the war, as the main roads are closed, and usually we have to take another roads to travel from one place to another. And
Yeah,
these roads usually mountainous roads, and it is so dangerous. And also because of climate change, sometimes it might be raining suddenly, and we have actually witnessed the death of many
I see.
women in those areas.
I see. Okay. Now, talking about always challenges facing Yemeni women, Ola, you talked about the problem of moving from one capital to another, getting the visas, etc. Okay. And this brings me also to the domestic challenges that women face while traveling from one city to another. And here I am specifically talking about what we call mahram, okay? Mahram kind of measures in Houthi controlled areas, okay? So the right, women are being deprived the right to move, okay, freely from one place to another. As an activist in this regard, okay, what have you done, or your organization or other women groups have done to curb such Houthi measures?
Actually, it is somehow complicated. Houthi is now the control authorities there in Sana'a. If they are not a government, so that you can advocate against their roles and what they are doing, but we are just trying to do simple things. Actually, we are just trying to do some social media activities on the rights of women to move from one place to another. During all our participations in the events, regionally and internationally, have just putting and highlighting the issue of moving from one place to another. Actually, a lot of things are not that, women cannot just announce these things freely, especially living there in areas controlled by Houthis. A lot of women has been also arrested while traveling. Many of them have been prevented from traveling. You cannot go and rent a car to travel from one place to another without having a relative or a mahram, a male relative. You cannot also take the bus to travel from one place into another without having your male relative with you. It is also in Sana'a airport sometimes. It's not easy for women to just get a ticket to travel through Sana'a airports without having mahram sometimes. It is adding a lot of suffering for women. I have been just talking about the issue of the roads. The main roads are now cut in most of the cities, so we are just under the siege in many governorates in Yemen. It's not easy for us to move from one place to another, and this is just adding a lot of other suffering to us. Many women
Yeah.
has some relatives in other cities. Sometimes they have to travel from one place to another place for medicine, for example, for curing. But actually, usually Houthi do not accept any of these excuses,
Yeah.
and this is also a big issue. I think it is hard for us, civil society organizations working in the other side of the government, of the country, controlled by the government, to work against Houthis. You have also to think about our security as civil society. We are not safe there. I might work against Houthi, and if I'm there in one of their areas, I might be arrested, and no one's going to be there actually for me. We don't have any kind of protection rules from the international government actors, or even our government, the local one.
Yeah, okay. So sorry for this, Ola. Okay, another challenge that Yemeni women face, Ola, is gender-based violence, okay? And a recent United Nations report just last month described Yemen as being the worst place to be a woman, okay? So from your work, what common forms of gender-based violence are documented in Yemen, okay? I know it's a bit sensitive issue to report, yes?
It is actually, especially in a society like the Yemeni society. Actually, all the statistics we are having are not correct, because I think most of the cases are not documented, because most of these girls actually do not have first the education, the knowledge, and also the ability to go and document their issues and cases. Many actually of them have been also killed by some of their family members for some gender-based violence issues. Um, in Yemen, it is so hard also to work because of the capacities of us as civil society organizations. Because the first issue is first with the rules and the laws we are having in Yemen, because we don't have enough laws to protect these women, and then it is the implementation also of the laws that we are having. I have heard a story of a woman. She told me that she went to a police station. She wanted to like her brother or her father was beating her badly, but they did not even accept to document her issue, as they are saying like it is like a family issue, like we cannot solve it in the police station, you have to solve it within your family. So they do not really deal seriously with these kind of issues, gender-based violence, especially
Yeah.
if it is like within one family, the members of the family. But we cannot do it by ourselves as civil society, because we need the government also to work with us. Some girls cannot live in their houses anymore because of what her family has been doing to her, but she has no other place to go to. And it is very hard for us as civil society to give them like alternative homes to live in and provide them with accommodation for long time. Usually we are working within projects. We have funds for a specific time. It is also so complicated with us when we are dealing with the donors, because all these funds are, conditional. So we cannot just do whatever we think is correct. We have to be restricted to some rules for these funds, especially the amount to be the amount of the fund, and also
Yes.
the
Yes.
period of the fund to be implemented in.
Yeah.
So we cannot do it by ourselves, and also we don't just need the government, we also need the society, because sometimes it's very hard also for the woman herself to talk about her issue,
Yeah.
and some women actually refuse to talk about their issues.
Yes.
Some families also refuse to talk about what their girls are facing, because they are afraid of the society and the traditions and what people are going to say. So many of girls has just promised suicide. Many of them prefer to die when no one knows about their stories.
Yeah. Okay. So another major focus of this interview, Ola, if we just could move, despite all these challenges facing Yemeni women, okay, there are also female activists, okay, who advocate for women's rights, okay, and they keep participating in regional and international events, okay. If I just take you back to the workshop or the 3-day meeting conducted by the UN Special Envoy Office in Amman in 21st of November last month, okay. In your opinion, Ola, how far those steps are important in what we call making women included in the peace process?
Actually, it is so important to have such events including women. I'm going to talk about the workshop we had with the Office of the Special Envoy 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
It was
You were there,
just
Ola,
like,
yes? You were among participants.
sorry?
You were there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
participated.
Yeah.
It is a consultation meeting, and actually it's not the first one that the Office of the Special Envoy has conducted. I also participated in another one. It was just last year. But what the Office of the Special Envoy is trying to do is creating or designing a roadmap for peace building in Yemen, because they actually don't know exactly what should they do. So they are bringing the perspectives of women. They have also conducting a lot of other consultations meetings, like security consultations and economic consultations, so that they are just gaining a lot of ideas from the participants so that they can design the roadmap. So they are not actually bringing women into the peace processes, but they are bringing the perspectives of women into a roadmap. So they will try to work on the roadmap, but actually it's not bringing really women into the peace processes. And I
if,
think
if
the
I
peace
could,
processes
if
in
I could
Yemen.
interrupt you here, Ola, okay? You said the Special Envoy Office is just trying to bring the perspectives of women and not women themselves, okay? So, what do you think should be done in this case?
We need to see more women on the negotiations table.
Yeah.
We need to see women on the peace talks. So they have to do kind of, forcing the conflict parties to bring women within their delegations. So the Office of the Special Envoy is now just trying to design a roadmap so that they can start working on kind of peace processes based on this roadmap. But they are not actually forcing the conflict parties to, abide for what is mentioning in the roadmap. So it is just kind of attempts, and it's not bringing any of the community groups into the table of the peace processes. So there must be kind of push on the conflict parties to bring women into the peace talks.
Okay. One observer commented on the peace talks, okay, as being a man game, not a women game. You see? Yeah, he was referring to women not being included, in fact. So we need this peace process to be also man-women game.
Actually, it cannot succeed without having women and all the perspectives of the other community groups on the table. We have been, suffering from the war in Yemen for almost a decade, as you mentioned in the beginning.
Yes.
And we had a lot of peace talks since the beginning of the war, and none of those talks succeed at the end because it missed something. You are missing more than 50% of the society. Women are there on the ground. They are also with the authorities. They are everywhere. They are working, actually. They have perspectives. They're actually more willing to have peace than men. Women usually do not have their own interests while they are talking about peace. They have been suffering, actually. They care more about the future of their children and grandchildren more than men do. And I'm not just talking about women being on the table. I'm talking about all the community groups being on the table to succeed the peace processes, because it cannot be done with only men on the table.
Yes, okay. We hope that women can be presented in the table, Ola, very strongly, and all other groups, in fact. With that remark, we come to the end of this interview, Ola. Thank you so much for your insights, and thank you for talking to Yemen Today TV.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all for this week. See you next time with a new edition of The Third Dimension.